Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It's Thursday, October 22nd. This is a special edition of 3 News Now with a preview of what to expect in tonight's final presidential debate between current President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden, who is the Democratic candidate for office. That's coming on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can watch that right here on NBC3. That will be moderated by NBC's Kristen Welker, and we're going to get into some of the things that you can expect to see tonight during this second and final debate out of Nashville. Probably one of the most interesting things that we've seen coming up to this debate is the conversation of will they be able to keep it under control, because that first presidential debate that we saw here in Cleveland was a total train wreck in terms of actually being able to have some sense of decorum. Well, that'll be up to Kristen Welker. Today, President Donald Trump tweeting on the defense. He was talking about his interview with CBS's 60 Minutes and Leslie Stahl, but he mentioned Kristen Welker in a tweet today, calling her far worse than Leslie Stahl, who he called biased and full of hatred and rude in a tweet today about CBS. So we will see what happens tonight at the debate and what that interaction is like there. President Donald Trump already kind of trying to set the stage that there will be bias against him at that debate. Now, one of the things that we will be seeing is a change to the format, just a slight change to the format. There will be a mute button in play. That's because of the interrupting that happened at the presidential debate in Cleveland. So the Commission on Presidential Debates decided that at the very beginning of each segment, there will be 6 segments over the 90 minutes that while the candidate is giving their first 2 minutes in response, the other candidate will have their microphone muted. So that's a total of 4 minutes per segment. That adds up to 24 minutes. But as a lot of people are pointing out, when you talk directly into a microphone, sure, you have a nice crisp sound, but when you talk over here to the side or talk over here to the side, or maybe if you're across the room, a microphone can still pick up that noise. So it'll be interesting to see if the muting of the microphones actually works. Now, some people that have been analyzing the way the candidates took the approach in the first debate said that they might expect President Donald Trump to take a more laid-back approach today and hope for former Vice President Joe Biden to misspeak when he is able to speak uninterrupted. But maybe not, because on Fox and Friends this week, President Donald Trump mentioned that it is okay to attack. So if he does choose to make those attacks while Biden is speaking, we very well could still hear them just off camera or off microphone, which could make things more confusing than they were even the first time around. Now, the topics that will be discussed at the debate are national security, the fight against COVID-19, American families, leadership, climate change, and race in America. On the first topic on national security, something that could likely come up just came out from the head of intelligence here in the government yesterday about Iran sending emails to voters in multiple battleground states that were supposedly from Iran and were made to look like they were from the far-right group, the Proud Boys. This is something that just came out. These were sent to the battleground states of Pennsylvania, Florida, and Arizona at least. That's what the government officials are saying. That's what they know for sure. And these emails that were made to look like they came from the Proud Boys but did not said things like, "We will come after you if the people who received them don't vote for President Donald Trump." Now, this all comes into national security as we talk about the safety and the integrity of our elections, which the U.S. government officials have said there is no reason to believe that our elections will not be sound ahead of the election. That's something that President Donald Trump has talked about a lot. So that very well could come up. Now, one thing that Trump's campaign manager, Bill Stapien, has said, he had asked for a rethinking of the debate topics because he wanted to talk about more foreign issues. So under the guise of national security, this is where we may see the president try and steer the conversation toward other issues about foreign policy. On the topic of COVID-19, things that will definitely come up. Cases are surging around the U.S., especially here in Ohio, where we have had another record day in new daily reported cases. But here is something that will most certainly come up. Just this evening, breaking news came out that the FDA had approved remdesivir. This is the very first drug approved to fight COVID-19, to treat COVID-19. Now, this is not a vaccine, of course. This is a treatment for COVID-19. And previously, it was only approved for emergency use. This is something that President Donald Trump took when he tested positive for COVID-19. A major U.S. study shows that remdesivir has been shown to cut the recovery time of a case of COVID-19 from 15 days to 10 days. So that's very significant, cutting that recovery time down by 1/3. That's something we can definitely look to see President Donald Trump talking about this, likely over policy, and also a conversation about personal choices, because since the last debate, President Donald Trump, of course, did test positive for COVID-19, and he was hospitalized. And since that time, he has couched his treatment in a very positive light, and he's been disagreeing with the nation's leading infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, as well as holding large rallies. However, Joe Biden, on the other hand, has portrayed the Trump administration's response as a total failure and taken a much more cautious approach when it comes to COVID-19. He's regularly seen wearing a mask, holding small in-person campaign events, many of those being drive-in style, where people will drive in and remain in their cars or directly around their vehicle, and is regularly reporting his COVID-19 test results, which have been negative. Another thing that will most certainly be brought up tonight will be the families, and Hunter Biden specifically will come up again. Now, the president tried to make an issue of Hunter Biden and his drug use in the first presidential debate. However, Joe Biden then sort of turned that around and said that he was proud of his son, like many Americans who had fought to overcome addiction. Well, this time around, President Donald Trump will certainly bring up the fact that the New York Post has reported about data that was allegedly recovered from Hunter Biden's laptop. Now, this data has not been verified, but if it is legitimate, it does not tie Joe Biden to any sort of corruption. Now, Joe Biden's team considers this to be a distraction from major issues, namely the pandemic, but it will definitely come up, and we will have to hear what Joe Biden has to say about that tonight at the debate. Another thing that you could watch for tonight on the topic of race in America, President Donald Trump has repeatedly portrayed himself as a champion for Black Americans, as more so than Joe Biden, emphasizing a law and order theme. And Biden has frequently acknowledged systemic racism. He's accused the president of encouraging white supremacy and armed militias. In the first presidential debate, when given the opportunity, the president did not denounce white supremacists. He did later say that he disavows white supremacists. But one thing that could certainly come up at the debate tonight is the fact that the judge in the case of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer in the killing of George Floyd, has dropped one of those charges. One of the charges against Chauvin has been dropped. That's the charge of third-degree murder. Now, the other charges remain, including the higher charge of second-degree murder, and the charges against the other 3 former officers also remain at this time. They are charged with aiding and abetting. So those charges remain as well. But the fact that that charge was dropped could possibly come up tonight in a broader conversation about racial injustice and the many demonstrations we have seen around the country in the past several months, namely after the killing of George Floyd, which occurred on May 25th and sparked protests around the country, including here in Cleveland. How to watch tonight. The debate will be starting at 9 p.m. You can watch it right here on Channel 3 on NBC here in Cleveland. You can also stream it on WKYC.com, in our WKYC app, and on our Facebook and YouTube pages. And throughout the debate, we will have live fact checks from our Verify team. You can find that on WKYC.com as well. And then after the debate, there will be another special episode of 3 News Now. That'll be with Dave Dino DiNatale. He'll be recapping what actually happened, going through those live fact checks, and verifying the statements made by both the Trump team and the Biden team as we recap and take a look at what happens in the final presidential debate just 12 days out from the November 3rd election in 2020. This is it for your special edition of 3 News Now. I'll see you back here tomorrow, and you'll see Dino with that fact check and recap in a little bit. Everyone enjoy your evening. Happy debate watching. I'm Stephanie Haney.